Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 319. We are covering, me, Bruce, Purkey, and Eric Holmes, we're covering movies that are coming out the week of Friday, November 7th, 2025. The movies that are covered this week, the new ones include The Beldham, Sentimental Value, Exit Protocol, and Longshadow. Bruce Purkey does not cover any of the movies that are coming out on Friday, but the good news is he has a streaming pick for you, and that's called Sorry Baby. It's currently streaming on HBO Max. And he also has a review of Save the Green Planet, which I believe was the original movie that, what is it? What's that movie? Begonia or whatever? Bulgonia? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie.
Right, the new Yorgos movie, Lanthimos and Emma Stone movie with Jesse Plemons in it. So he has a review of Save the Green Planet, Sorry Baby, and again, me and Eric Holmes for the week of Friday, November 7th have The Beldham, Sentimental Value, Exit Protocol, and Longshadow. Eric Holmes. Oh, you have one more.
City of.
Right. We also review
a
streaming pick called City of Industry, which I recommended to Eric Holmes last week because.
Spoiler alert, Greg, you're lying.
Oh, very good. So we're gonna talk about City of Industry later in the show, and that's our streaming pick. And then also Eric Holmes. Last but definitely not least, you have your own review of a movie which isn't currently streaming, but will come out, and you want to give our CinemAddicts listeners a little bit of a heads up. What is that movie or anthology?
It's Tales from the Woods. It's actually 3 different short films. I'm not sure because they just had, it's Sleeping Beauty by Matty Doe, Jacques the Giant Slayer by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who did like Endless, and then you got the Cinderella, which was directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer, who did Daniel Isn't Real. And I think they just played, I'm trying to think which one the new, I think Cinderella might be the new one. The other 2 were out previously, I think. I'm not exactly sure about this, but I think they played separate, but they're part of an anthology. So I don't know if when it's released, if they're going to be released as a Tales from the Woods movie that's a 3-part. I'm not sure how they're going to release it. But
I'm going to look at the phone right now, and I'm going to, sorry,
Eric. They're definitely worth talking about for sure.
Well, to your point, Eric, Tales from the Woods, it's a horror anthology series, just like you said, and I think you're correct. They will be released as one movie. It was playing in the festival. This is the first of all 3 shorts that will be playing together, and it actually played at a festival. Where did it play? I've got to check it out, but there's no streaming right now for it. There's no specific release. Wayward Entertainment, quote, will be making upcoming announcements regarding its continued festival rollout and 2026 streaming launch of their horror series, Tales from the Woods. And Eric, why not, before we even get to the featured films and just the banter that we usually do on a weekly basis, why don't you just talk about Tales from the Woods and give our listeners a little bit of a sneak peek about your thoughts and your review of each of these installments, I suppose.
Yes, Greg, because I am a human, not an AI, and we shall banter like humans do.
You're very good.
Yeah, so again, you got Sleeping Beauty by Matty Doe, Jacques the Giant Slayer, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, and Cinderella by Adam Egypt Mortimer. These are Sleeping Beauty, Jack and the Beanstalk, and Cinderella. These are like dark horror versions of these. And unlike the Winnie the Pooh or the Popeye the Sailor Man or the Mickey Mouse, they all recently became in public domain. They're like, we're going to do horror versions of them. They got actual great filmmakers to do these, not least of which is Matty Doe, who we, consistently talk up, and with good reason. She's freaking talented as hell. But yeah, these are dark fairy tales, and all 3 of them are really good.
Do they work as a cohesive whole as far as, I know they're separate stories.
No, they're all separate stories. They're not. So like, for instance, Cinderella, I think Cinderella is the newest one that was just, what was it, the Brooklyn Film Festival or Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. Cinderella is, woman's at this rave, and she ends up making out with this one guy painted up like the Crow. And she's like, oh, it's almost midnight, I gotta go. And she leaves, and her glass slipper comes off, and the prince picks it up, and it's like, oh, I gotta find the woman that I met at the rave the other night. And so people come in, they get the evil step sisters and whatnot. There's a part where like she's trying to put the glass slipper on, it's not fitting. So she finds a knife and cuts her toes off. So the glass slipper. I mean, this is the kind of thing, kind of the dark version of that you got going on. But then it's more than just a horror movie. All three of them, like with the Cinderella, I can't really say because it's got more on its mind than just being a horror movie. And with a lot of these, I can't say what that is because that's usually the end of the short and it ties everything together. So it'd be a spoiler. But there's a little commentary on sort of, I don't know, it sounds cheesy to say, but being yourself. Like, oh, this is what you wanted the whole time. It's like, I never said that's what I wanted. That's what you assume I wanted, and I want nothing to do with you, that sort of thing. Jacques the Giant Slayer is this archaeologist. He digs up, finds some bones, and finds I don't know if it's fossilized, but there's a bone hand, and holding the bag, he pulls it out, and there's like little beans inside of it, as you might expect. And then he goes to sleep at night, and the beans grow legs like spiders crawl in his mouth, and he wakes up. And that part's weird because it didn't really say how the beans were planted. He just, the spider beans like crawl in his mouth, and then the next day, like that beanstalk's there. But he climbs up that, and there's these armless giant bird creature things, and there's a bunch of weirdness going on up there, and it's really freaking cool. That one, and then that one's got like a kind of like a repeat history's mistake kind of aspect to it. Then you got The Sleeping Beauty, Eddie written by Christopher Larson, and a guy finds this woman in the middle of the forest, and she's asleep, and he brings her home, and his mom, I think it's his mom, like checks her and is like, she's dead. It's like, she's not dead, she's my girlfriend. And then so there's basically he's carrying this dead woman around Weekend and Bernie style, like, making out with her, bringing her in his room, having sex with her. And there's like a whole curse thing that goes along with that. I think of the three, that one's like, the strangest one is Jacques the Giant Slayer, just because of that giant bird thing up at the top of the beanstalk. But like socially, Sleeping Beauty is unsettling just because of the fact that you got this guy carrying around this dead woman and treating him like his girlfriend. Imagine someone doing that in real life. It plays into some supernatural elements later on, but early on, it's just a guy carrying a dead woman around. It's really unsettling and gross. Not gross like in a gory way, but gross in a social dynamic way of seeing how he's treating her and acting with her. And in short, all three are fantastic, and keep an eye out for them. You said they're gonna release them in 2026.
Yeah, 2026 in streaming. What's your rating? You can actually review it because it played the first fest. I don't know what fest it played, but it's going to make its festival run. There's no embargo on it, which is good.
Yeah.
So,
well, they just played the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. I don't know what other festivals they got going on, but I mean, I'll just do 6.9. There's not if I had to pick a weakest one, it'd probably be Cinderella, but that's because like Sleeping Beauty and Jacques the Giant Slayers are 6.9 and Cinderella's a 6.8. Like that, I mean, that's calling Cinderella the weakest one is not
they're all excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's like, hey, what's Tarantino's worst movie? Still a 5-star movie, so who cares? Right. But yeah, it's 6.9 all the way across. This is probably one of the more solid anthologies you're gonna find, and I think a lot of it has to do with they take well-worn stories that we've heard a million times. They do interesting twists because they got talented filmmakers working on them. So good for them. Okay. And I hope if this is level and quality they're gonna make these, I would like to see more of them. I'd like to see a Hansel and Gretel one, Big Bad Wolf. I'll do them all. Go down as long as you're gonna maintain the quality and go after these kind of talented filmmakers. Juan Diego Escobar Zote, hit him up,
we miss him. We miss him so much.
Yeah, we will see. But yeah, Tales from the Woods is excellent.
Okay, so that is Tales from the Woods. Currently not streaming. It'll be streaming in the year 2026, right around the corner. And also check your local fest. It might be playing at a festival that's near where you live.
If it does, mark that one down. If there's something else, whatever's playing at the time that's playing, doesn't matter. Watch that one. That's the goods.
That is the goods. Okay, so let's get to our featured films for this week. First up is Sentimental Value. This is a movie that is getting a lot of Oscar buzz. Comes out in select theaters Friday, November 7th. Eric, The director, Joachim Trier, I might be mispronouncing the name. Have you seen any of his movies? Movies include Thelma, Louder Than Bombs, The Worst Person in the World. Have you seen any? I'm thinking that you are actually unfamiliar.
Worst Person in the World sounds familiar, but I don't know
It's
if
a
I've seen
Norwegian
it.
film starring Renata Rensva, and it came out in 2021. It turned Renata Rensva. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing both of their names, but Renata Rensva, she actually became a star because of The Worst Person in the World back in 2021. That got a lot of heat. 4 years later, Joachim Trier is
yes,
back.
I did see that one. Oh, we covered that one, I think.
We did cover that one,
Yeah.
and it's hard because we cover so many movies every single week. Now, compounded that was 4 years ago. I absolutely love that movie from 4 years ago. I don't know if you even remember that movie, Eric. That's nothing on you. It's just because we cover so many movies. So
No, that was like sort of a romantic comedy kind of thing. Where
that's
it's like,
right. That's right.
From what I remember, the worst person in the world is ironic because she's the worst person in the world because she broke up with someone or whatever. But it was like
That's right.
It was kind of the title is like very or I guess meant to be ironic because like her character's not really that bad.
Right. She's exploring her sexuality, exploring her journey, exploring her maturity. It's coming of age from a woman's perspective, that woman being Renata Rensva. That movie was directed by the same team. And let me also mention co-writer Eskil Vogt. I believe writers Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier, they wrote The Worst Person in the World together, if I'm not mistaken. And they're back together to write the screenplay for Sentimental Value. Joachim Trier is back to direct. He's the director behind Sentimental Value. And Renata Rensva, the star of The Worst Person in the World, she is back as the lead in this movie. Sentimental Value, it centers on, well, it's a weird thing because it centers on a family, and there's two sisters, Nora and Agnes. Nora is played by Renata Rensva, and Agnes is played by, I cannot pronounce this person's name, Inja Ildsdotter Lilius. And she has the smallest role, but what happens is these sisters, they lose their mother. Their mother, who is a psychiatrist, she passes away. And what happens is at their reception at the wake or after, what is the event after a funeral? There's a reception after the funeral, right? At the reception at their, not a wake, is a wake, is I forgot what they're called. Well, it doesn't show in the church. Actually, it shows in the house post funeral. So they're having a get together post funeral of their mother, and the sisters are trying to keep it together, and they're holding this mini reception at their house. And lo and behold, their father Gustav, played by Stellan Skarsgård, he appears out of nowhere. The reason why it's a surprise is because Gustav left their family over 10 years ago after having a big fight with their mother. And because of this fight, Gustav, his main job is he's a filmmaker. So he's literally almost pretty much abandoned them for the last decade plus, and leaving Nora and Agnes to live and grow up under this beautiful house under the supervision of their mother. Now, the story starts off with the mother's passing, and now Gustav is trying to actually re-enter both of their lives. Gustav has written a script that he wrote for his eldest daughter, Nora, again played by Renata Rensva. Nora is a stage actress, and Nora is a talented actress. Gustav offers her the lead role in his script. Nora has never been in a movie. If she accepts the script from her father, she will possibly get a little bit of fame, because her father, even though he hasn't made, I think, a movie in over 15 years, is a celebrated filmmaker. She immediately says no. She doesn't want to work with her dad. She'd rather just work on the stage, the local beautiful theatrical productions. And he's a little bit flustered because he wanted her to star in his movie. But what happens is, the little mini twist, and it's not a spoiler because it's part of the plot summary, is ultimately Gustav, the filmmaker, he gets a young Hollywood star played by Elle Fanning to take over the lead role in that script. So the rest of the movie deals with Gustav and this Hollywood starlet, this ingenue played by Elle Fanning, as they are trying to get this movie off the ground. Most of the movie will be shot in their beautiful family home in Norway. a lot of Sentimental Value deals with the history of the home, the generations who lived in this home. And the reason why the movie is called Sentimental Value is the home itself is very sentimental to everyone who lived there, who have since died. We get to see a little bit of an insight to the people who lived and died in the homes. We get to learn about the people who actually live in the home right now. And then we get to see also how the home ends up being a movie location for Gustav and that ingenue played by Elle Fanning. And then you also get to see Nora and Agnes as they try to understand their own relationship with their father. And they're trying to reconcile the situation because they haven't seen their father for years. And look, he's actually taken over their family home and he's shooting a movie in a place and location where where their mother just died, and B, it's weird to have a movie crew in their personal space. Rated R, running at 135 minutes. The worst person, that's Sentimental Value. The worst person in the world is just a beautiful movie, and it just moves at a really interesting pace, and it's just flashy and gorgeous and wonderful. Sentimental Value is much more, in my opinion, cerebral, but it is also packed with a ton of feeling as well. It doesn't go down as, like Anderson likes to say, it doesn't go down as smooth as The Worst Person in the World, but it's still a very, very beautiful movie about the true relationships between a father and daughter, a father and his daughters. It really focuses on the relationship between Nora, again played by Renate Reinsve, and her father, Gustav, played by Stellan Skarsgård. This is a movie that, in my opinion, will get a ton of Oscar nominations. I believe Elle Fanning, who as of this weekend is starring in Predator Badlands. This weekend, Elle Fanning is starring in Predator Badlands, which I'm sure Eric Holmes is going to see this weekend. And she's starring in Sentimental Value. Oh, you might not see Predator Badlands.
I still haven't seen Prey.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, well, because you don't have Hulu, probably. But anyway, yeah. I think you might like Prey, actually. Elle Fanning, I think she'll receive an Oscar nomination. She's very good as that starlet who's trying to just expose herself to Norwegian culture, even though she is from Hollywood. She's trying her best to make the director happy. And it's very interesting to see how the challenges that this A-list actress has in facing this very personal film. Nora, as the woman the eldest sister who just really can't have a real conversation with her father because her father has been distant, is also excellent. This is a shoo-in as far as Oscar nomination for Stellan Skarsgård. It's a very showy role, very charismatic role. I think there's going to be a ton of nominations here for Sentimental Value. It's a sublime, beautiful film filled with emotion, and there's so much that happens on the first go round. It's very dense, 135 minutes. There are things that you might miss.
So it's not like 135 minutes where like 35 of those minutes is them staring at a wall, or it's
no.
You said it's dense, so it's like constantly the story's constantly moving forward, the characters are constantly doing things.
That's a great question. Yeah, the movie is constantly doing things, and there's not 5 minutes of someone looking at a spider going on a wall and it pans down slowly. No, none of that stuff.
And it's nothing like a 3-hour movie where we have to sit there for 10 minutes watching a door close.
No, exactly. None of that with Sentimental.
Go find another editor, please.
And there's a little bit of mystery in Sentimental Value too. And there are very interesting, I don't want to give too much spoilers. There are some interesting explorations and secrets that are buried within the world of Sentimental Value. I really, really love this movie. Eric's top rating is 6.9. I'm not a 6.9 person, much respect to Eric Holmes, but I'm giving it 5 stars. I'm even going to say probably 5-star classic. This is one of my favorite films of the year. It's a movie that's completely tailor-made to my aesthetic. I will also say this. Eric, I don't know if you like movies about making movies, if that's like The Player or stuff like that, but Sentimental Value has some really interesting inside baseball filmmaking stuff in it as well. So if you are looking for movies about making movies like 8.5 or The Player, you're going to get that little element with Sentimental Value, along with this very resonant look at family relationships. 5 stars for me. Sentimental Value, Friday, November 7th, 135 minutes, rated R. CinemAddicts listeners, tell us if you're excited about Sentimental Value. More importantly, once you see it this weekend in theaters or maybe down the road, hit us up in the comments. Tell us if you think this is one of your favorite movies of this year as well. Yes, Eric Holmes.
Just for clarity, a movie about making movies doesn't move the dial one way or another. If it's good, I like it. If it's bad, I don't. But there's no inherent prejudgment on whether it's a movie about a movie.
Okay, Eric, what about movies about how about Westerns? Do you like the Western genre? Have you ever been in love with Westerns, or is that a genre that you'll just take it as it comes? If it's in our Google Doc that we have to cover, you're not too excited about?
One of my favorite movies was the last year, Place of Bones.
That was your number one. Yes.
Yeah. What was that Nicolas Cage one? The old man, the old guy.
The Old Way.
The Old Way. Yeah.
Yes.
That one was good. The last Walter Hill one wasn't great, but I still enjoyed that. Yeah.
Right. Old Henry.
There you go. Old Henry. It was like something not old because the old, but yeah, Old Henry.
Starring City of Industries Stephen Dorff, which we're going to get to in a moment.
Dude, City of Industries is so good. Oh, spoiler alert.
There's a review. We're done. Okay. So before we get
in general, I like Westerns, especially recent ones. They've been pretty good so far.
Okay. So they've been pretty good so far. How far will that take Eric Holmes? How far will that take Greg Srzewasti? I just referred to myself the third. We're going to find out with this new movie called Longshadows. Quote, set in the fading days of the wild, wild west, the story centers on a lone young drifter driven by a single purpose, to avenge the brutal murder of his parents. Hardened by the loss and yearning for something beyond vengeance, his path shifts when he discovers love and the possibility of a new beginning. But revenge never comes easy. As he journeys through a frontier riddled with greed, betrayal, and corruption, he becomes the target of an unforgiving lawman, whose pursuit is as relentless as a ghost that torment his own mind. That is just half of the plot summary. That I'm not going to read the rest of the 4 or 5 sentences for the plot synopsis for Longshadows. I mentioned dense. What? Yes, Eric.
Was that the something relentless as the ghost that torment his own mind, which doesn't come up till the very end of the movie?
Right. So a little bit of not a spoiler, but a mini thing is there is mental health theme in this Western, which I found interesting. I don't see mental health issue stuff maybe ever in a Western.
Especially in this setting.
Okay, the main person is Marcus Dollar. This is the person trying to find revenge. That person is played by Blaine May. I've never seen him before. He is the lead of this movie. Also, Eric and I are used to watching Westerns that are about 90 to 95 minutes. Tight Westerns filled with violence, revenge, retribution, really cool cuts, great scenery. We like those little tight Westerns. This one's about, I think, 104 minutes. So it's dense. A lot of plot. There's also Jacqueline Bisset, who is just the legendary actress. She plays a madam. Dominic Monaghan from Lost and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He is Ned Duxbury.
Dominic Monaghan brought his fork and steak knife, just ate all the scenery that he
ate all the scenery. He was chewing the scenery up.
So like, we'll put some A1 sauce on that, ketchup on that. We're just.
I find Eric, I don't think has ever seen Lost. I love Dominic Monaghan from, of course, Lord of the Rings stuff, but I loved him from Lost, and he has a meaty enough role in this movie. He's part of an ensemble, and Dominic Monaghan, he does a scenery chewing mainly opposite the Jacqueline Bisset character, and she's great too. Yeah, she's great, and he is the assistant to the madam. I messaged Eric when I was about halfway through this movie, and I don't know if I specifically said this to Eric, but I was thinking that this might be the worst Western I've ever seen in my life. And unlike Eric, respect to Eric Holmes,
So I will mark you down for 3.5 stars on this.
So I will say this, Eric. He's not as big of a fan of Westerns as I am. That's no shade on Eric. I just love this so much as Eric loves Blood on the Clock Tower. Am I correct on this? I am passionate about Westerns. So I was ready
to courtroom dramas, probably.
Courtroom dramas. Right. Eric Holmes loves courtroom dramas as much as I love Westerns. This is my thing. This, even before it was film noir, but my number one, honestly, is Westerns. And I was so mad. And I'm mad at myself right now because I forgot to mention Dermot Mulroney. He plays this guy named, I think, Deadeye something. He is a former outlaw who tries to bring perspective to Marcus Dollar. Marcus Dollar, again, is the young
Dermot
kid.
Mulroney, also great in this.
I'm not going to, yeah, Dermot Mulroney is Dallas Garrett. He's an ex-outlaw. And he's trying to show this young man that, hey, it's not good to go on this blood trail of retribution. Okay. I just mentioned a whole bunch of names. And again, when I told Eric that this is the worst movie Western I've seen in my life, lo and behold, Eric mentioned something about mental health that occurs in the third act, which I thought was, I hate to say it, it was well played, and it pretty much turned the tide for everything else that happened before. Eric's going to disagree with me, but I was, yeah. Eric mentioned 3.5 stars. It bumped up to me to a 3.5 star movie because it is corny at times. The exposition is too much a lot of times, but there is something that happens in the third act which I found very novel and interesting, and I loved the ensemble. I wish this movie was more of a Dermot Mulroney movie. Like,
Me
I wish
too.
it was.
I would have much rather watched the Deadeye movie with Dominic Monaghan and Jacqueline, but like their Dominic Monaghan and Jacqueline Bisset, like their scenes together, I loved them, even though they had very little to do with the rest of the movie, other
And
than
Eric,
the initial incident.
well,
Oh, go
all
ahead.
of the other actors, even the sheriff, there's Chris Mulkey. He's in this as the judge. There's some really great character actors. And I don't know if you co-sign on this, but all of the character actors that are around the main story
Yes.
are, to me, the most interesting part of Lost Shadows. And I will say this before we start harping on the flaws. The production design, the cinematography, for whatever budget they had to work, I believe the director is William Shockley, and he's an actor, and he's best known for his work on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. And I think
But
that's,
I would say that's like the look of this kind of
I'm not going to, yeah,
kind of would fit that sort of aesthetic.
I'm not
Because
arguing with you
I
on
wouldn't
that.
say
Yeah, it
this
does.
looks great, but like if you watch Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman said, "Oh, that's cinema," then you're gonna be right at home here.
Okay, in fairness, I'm sure there are some good cinematic moments, but this is not Horizon, directed by Kevin Costner. This is not a Sergio Leone film.
No.
But yeah, it is a serviceable enough movie visually if you like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. And I think that was the series he was on.
Well, we just talked about like Old Henry and Place of Bones earlier, and
Sure,
like this doesn't hold a candle to either of those two.
no argument there. Those are more grittier movies within that. Yeah, those are more guerrilla, interesting, gritty films. This, I think, I like the look of the movie. There is a horse chase sequence which I think is well done. Long shadows. There is you see 3 gunmen or lawmen. They're walking towards a home, and you see the long shadow, and that's only for 3 seconds. But I thought that was cool. There's some cool moments in this movie, but I've been blabbing. Eric, I want your review of Long Shadows, and then I'll get back to my final thoughts.
I'm kind of with you on I don't know if it's the worst Western I've seen, but it's not very, there's some like very strange character stuff that happens in this. Like, I wish I wrote them down, but just like really like basic stuff like that. I seem to remember, well, actually, now that I think of it, maybe that has to do with the third act.
Mhm.
So I won't mention that. There's something that someone sees that was like, that's stupid. And then I started thinking of the third act. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that was intentional. So I'll give that a pass. But I think that turn in the third act is extremely poorly handled. I get
Oh,
I get what they're trying to do.
yeah.
And I do appreciate that they brought it on early enough that they could still comment on it and make that part of the movie instead of just having that be the twist and the roll credits. Like the turn
Right.
came early enough that they could sink their teeth into it a little bit. I just think it was mostly mishandled. And I probably if they had like a better handle on that whole mental illness kind of conversation that they're stirring up, if they had a
Uh-huh.
better handle on it, it would have serviced the movie better to bring that in, say at the beginning of the second act, and then
Mm.
making the whole rest of the movie about that. I think, and on top of that, it would have been a much more interesting movie because like Marcus Dollar's his character
Okay, yeah,
journey,
right.
not really that interested in it. The beginning
Mm.
part with his parents dying in front of him, not a big spoiler because that's the inciting incident. But other than that, like I do not care. Like him, oh, I don't want to have sex with you. I didn't want to be a prostitute. I'm not here to have sex. I'm here to talk. Oh, you saved me. It's like, come on, we can move past that trope already.
Yeah, Eric's mentioning a love interest in the movie, and she is a person who was playing piano in the saloon of the
Which
Jack Bissett character.
I can't
Yeah,
hate it. I can't hate it completely because that brings us Dominic Monaghan and Jacqueline Bisset's character, which is like one of the few things in this I actually like. But that whole idea of I just want to talk and I can save you and we can I can be your hero. It's like, dude, you literally went a to buy a prostitute. You're not a that whole trope of the John coming in to save the prostitute is not only a cliche, it's a bad like it was just a bad idea just in general.
well, in fairness, that yeah, that is a trope. That person is played by actress Sarah Cortez. She plays Dulce Flores, and
Yeah.
she was, yeah, she wasn't a prostitute. She was playing piano in the saloon,
And
and
they
she refused. She refused to be a prostitute, and that's why they locked her in the room.
Yeah.
But Eric is mentioning the trope within that whole thing.
but I forget then why was Marcus Dollar in there to begin with?
Yeah, because she was trying to. Yeah, the Jacqueline Bisset character wanted Dulce to seduce him. And then
Okay.
so that's why they're in the room together. And then Dulce realizes that Marcus is not the average perverted dude who's going to take advantage of her. And then she starts appreciating him. And there goes their love story. Yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada. There's a lot of dense plot here, which for the first, I would say 30 to 40%, even 50%, I was very, very down on until I wasn't towards the third act. The third act saved everything for me, and it put everything before into context, which unfortunately did not happen for Eric Holmes.
I just think the third act, like it's a neat idea, although that also is an extreme cliche and not at all how mental illness works. But then the cherry on top was the titles at the very end.
Oh, right, all
Um,
right. Yeah, there's
they
some
they
titles,
kind of went on
some
forever,
information.
even to the point where it's like so and so was the first black person to fight the Civil War or whatever that final title was. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything that we just saw at all in this movie? It'd be like watching Blade Runner, and at the end of the Blade Runner, it was like over 2,000 whales are killed a year by humans. It's like that. Who cares? That has nothing to do with Blade Runner.
I think the end credits were, I don't want to mention what the end credits, they dealt with, I believe, a couple of the characters towards the end regarding the theme of mental health towards the third act. But yeah, there are end credits, which I'm going to flip on you on that. I thought the end credits were interesting. And I thought the cliche of
I'm
mental
saying
health.
that specific one. So and so was the first black soldier to do whatever.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
had nothing to do with mental health. It was just like and maybe that person did so, because the end titles did go pretty quick, so maybe I missed something there. But
Mm.
yeah, that last title was like, what does that have to do with literally anything?
Oh.
It's just a random fun fact that they throw in.
No, I if I recall, I agreed, disagree. I thought it was very
12
value
billion
added.
Cheetos are sold nationwide in
I
2026.
I appreciate what director William Shockley was, and did William Shockley write this? No, this is co-written by Shelley Reed, William Shockley, and Granger Hines. I believe Granger Hines is actually in the movie. He plays, I think, the lawman. And he's a good character actor. I had
Oh,
complaints with this movie.
was he the guy that like talks him down?
Right, yeah.
This has bits that I like. This has characters that I like. I think Marcus Dollar's character is just not a good character. Nothing to do with the actor. I just think his character and his love interest is, and that's kind of what this whole movie is kind
Heart of the
hinging
movie
on.
is right.
And
Right.
his character is just not a good character until
I
the third act, and then by then it's too late. You should have, and they don't even handle that very well. They should have got to that earlier and spent more time making more plausible kind of commentary or a realistic commentary on. It seemed like they tried, but I don't think they were successful in it.
Oh, okay. Longshadows. I can't believe I'm actually defending this movie, but everything was, unlike Eric, again, third act put everything into context for me. I would say, for my review, from my perspective, stick with Longshadows. It is a long movie. With westerns, it's 104 minutes, but I ended up really enjoying it. And I really love the third act. It saved everything for me. I love the ensemble cast and the look, the production design, the look of it. Just a solid western and an interesting western. Ended up being one. Wow, it's one of those movies that actually saved itself from itself, I guess. So 3.5 stars for me for Longshadows in theaters November 7th. What is your final thought? And Eric, what is your rating?
I'm probably at a 1.5 stars, but it's got Dermot Mulroney, so it automatically gets a 0.5 star bump. And I do like Jacqueline Bisset and Dominic Monaghan's characters' interactions, so that also adds to the 0.5 star bump. So we're at 2 stars.
I'm just glad that you saw it and we could talk about it.
It wouldn't be a recommend for sure. And there's definitely some good ideas in here, but it's just, especially that third act, that because I was kind of already not overall liking it, and then that third act happens. I was like, no.
Yeah,
Stop. Roll credits now. Just roll credits. You're done.
That is okay.
But I will say this: take that Dermot Mulroney character out of this. Make a movie about him. I absolutely want to see that movie.
Oh my gosh! Right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's so good in this movie. Now, before we get to a movie that you and I did both see, we saw this movie. What movie did we see? Let me go here.
The Beldham.
The Beldham. Let's not do that yet, Eric. Let's get to your review of Exit Protocol, which I am so mad I did not get to see this. I missed out on it. I'm glad, Eric Holmes, you have a bunch of interviews that you have 2 interviews with some actors tomorrow from Exit Protocol. I'm excited to check those out. I don't know who you're going to interview, but who have you interviewed already?
Stephanie Baran and Charlotte Kirk.
Oh, cool.
I've already interviewed Scott Martin and Shane Dax Taylor earlier today.
And when are you going to interview Michael Jai White?
As soon as they tell me to.
Michael Jai White is also in Exit Protocol, and Michael Jai White is also in City of Industry.
I got a funeral to go to at that time? Well, they'll still be dead, so I'm
going to interview Michael Jai White, or Jay White or Jai White. If you're listening, Michael Jai White, please let Eric Holmes interview you. He really, you and Scott Adkins, they're at the Mount Rushmore of Eric Holmes artists that he loves.
Yes.
Let's get to Exit Protocol. Quote, a notorious hitman who made a career killing other assassins wants out, but walking away is not an option. Now marked for death, he unexpectedly finds himself partnering with a former target to outrun his boss. Like Eric Holmes said, Scott Martin, Dolph Lundgren, Charlotte Kirk, Lena Maya, Stephanie Baran, and the aforementioned Michael Jai White. Written by Chad Law, who's written a ton of these type of movies. Directed by Shane Dax Taylor, a filmmaker I really love. In theaters, digital, and on demand November 7th. I hope this movie works. Eric Holmes, give your review of Exit Protocol.
Also, I'm not going to mention it here because it's in the interview, but the way that Shane Dax Taylor got to direct this was very strange. So we'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Wow. It was usually it's, hey, you want to come direct it? Yes. And then they'll start working on it. This was Shane Dax Taylor kind of got thrown into the middle of this, and he talks about it in the interview, but I've
interviewed him before. I've interviewed him a couple of times before. He's a pretty good interview, don't you think?
Yeah, dude, he's laid back as hell. He's pretty cool. But yeah, Chad Law, big fan of his. Let's see, you got Lights Out, Flood. I gotta look him up because I can't think off the top of my head. Well, Into the Deep. I haven't watched that one yet, but you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, yeah, I dig Chad Law. Freaking love Michael Jai White, Dolph Lundgren. But
by the way, Shane Dax Taylor. Sorry, Shane Dax Taylor. I don't know if you got to see this. I remember watching it, and I apologize, Eric, before you get into this thing. 2024, Shane Dax Taylor directed Murder Company, which I loved. I love Murder Company. World War II film. Yeah, look it up on IMDb. It stars Kelsey Grammer, and there's sort of like
okay.
Yeah.
Those like a 3-star banger, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
But Yeah. So one person I didn't know too well was Scott Martin. I think this is the first time I remember seeing him in anything, and he's the main
Okay.
character here.
All right.
He's the assassin that goes for other assassins. If you're a former assassin, he's the assassin that's going to go kill you because you can't be a former assassin. You can only be assassin or dead, apparently, in this world. It's hard out there for assassins. So you know what? If it's between that and working at Taco Bell, maybe work at Taco Bell if you value your mortal longevity. But he's got you watch him do his thing, and he's killing a couple assassins, and they got some pretty cool setups there. I think one of the biggest knocks against this is they use the CGI muzzle flashes and bullet hits and stuff like that. After that whole Rust thing, I get it when they do that. You want to be safe on set. On top of that, you got low budget movies like this. It's probably a lot cheaper doing that than using squib. So even though that kind of takes me out of it a bit, it looks a little cheap. It's hard to argue too much again. Yeah, I would prefer they use blanks and squibs and all that, or put maybe a little more care in the muzzle flashes. Corridor Crew does that, but they seem to make it look good. So I know you can make it look good, but it looks really bad in here. But that's one of those things I just kind of let go. But I really love Scott Martin in this. Just following him around as the assassin's assassin. He has to go after Dolph Lundgren. He's one of his marks, and then Dolph Lundgren turns the tables on him. Then enter Michael Jai White, who's after kind of both of them. And then so Scott Martin and Dolph Lundgren decides that we're going to team up and get this mother effer. And then it's basically Scott Martin and Dolph Lundgren versus Michael Jai White and Charlotte Kirk. And
I'm sorry, Eric. This doesn't seem like a movie for you.
No, I hated every second of it. It was no, not at all. I love this movie.
We should have gotten Bruce Purkey to review this movie, not you, Eric.
Bruce would hate this. This is not a Bruce movie at all. But this is exactly like my kind of movie.
Would I like it?
Oh yeah, you absolutely would dig that. I mean, dude, Chad Law wrote it, so that should tell you everything you need to know. And Shane Dax Taylor, he's got good kind of instincts when it comes to kind of action thrillers like this. And yeah, it's good stuff. You want to watch Michael Jai White, Dolph Lundgren, and Scott Martin? Like, if you're listening,
does he hold his own?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Most people listening to me right now might not know Scott Martin. Watch this. I think you might fall in love with him like I did, because he's really getting this. And yeah, it's a good action thriller. Check it out. Plus Michael. Other than the CGI bullets, you have Michael Jai White, you have Dolph Lundgren. There is a fight scene.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there is a fight scene. Go ahead.
The fight scenes I would have liked to see instead of shooting Dolph Lundgren and Michael Jai White shooting at each other.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen more Dolph Lundgren and Michael Jai White punching at each other.
Gotcha.
Actual physical fight scene, because most of the fight scenes are all gunshots. And I would have liked to see more hand-to-hand combat as it is. Pretty high concept, but pretty fun concept, and I dig it.
Were you bored? Not at all? Bored?
No.
Okay.
Even if I would have been bored, as Michael Jai White, come on. Don't carry me through anything.
Oh, we also have to mention, I don't know how much she is in the movie, but I like Charlotte Kirk as an actress. I like her action stuff.
Her character is really fun in this. She's kind of like her and Scott Martin their characters like really hate each other. And she's just like always, I can't wait to kill you.
Oh, that is so cool.
And then they got in a firefight, and then he talks to Michael Jai White and Charlotte Kirk later on, and then she's like, "You gonna apologize to me?" It's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's like, that's not an apology. It's like, well, whatever. And then he meets up earlier. It's like, yeah, sorry about the misunderstanding. I'm sorry I killed your guys. It's like, you can apologize for that, but you can't. They constantly got this banter back and forth. It's really great.
That is very cool. That is Exit Protocol in theaters, digital and on demand, November 7th. Eric Holmes, final thoughts and rating.
3-star banger. Greg, absolutely watch Exit Protocol. Bruce, you're gonna hate this. Just don't bother.
3-star banger from Eric Holmes. And what is my rating?
You're gonna give this 4 stars.
I'm going to give it 4 stars. You might as well put 4 stars for me before I even watch it. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. It just sounds like a 4-star film for me, actually. Exit Protocol, again, theaters, digital, and on demand, November 7th. We love Shane Dax Taylor, and we love his movies. So I'm excited to actually check out Eric's interviews with, I believe, Shane Dax Taylor, and you said you just interviewed Scott Martin as well. Am I mistaken on this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just interviewed them, and tomorrow you're going to interview a couple of the actresses for
Yep.
Exit Protocol. Okay, I'm excited. Go check it.
Yeah.
Check us out over on CinemAddicts.
Charlotte Kirk and Stephanie Baran.
Okay, are you
so Stephanie Baran, I believe she's Dolph Lundgren's girlfriend in this.
Okay, you're going to interview them together, so it's going to be a 2-on-1. Okay.
We'll
you
find out.
don't know. Okay. Well, okay. We will find out.
I'll do whatever they tell me to.
Very, very good, Eric Holmes. So that is Exit Protocol review from Eric Holmes. If you want more of his interviews, from Exit Protocol, please subscribe to our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. Also for the CinemAddicts audio feed, like I keep saying, please subscribe to us on CinemAddicts YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're trying to get to 4,000 watch hours. That'd be great. And also because of our audio feed on our YouTube channel, I am not going to monetize them. So you get the clean, without any commercials from this audio feed. Not in respect to you guys if you listen to us on other digital platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you listen to ads, that really helps us as well. So anyway, you can help us with our cheeseburger money on CinemAddicts. We thank you guys so much, whether it's Patreon or YouTube channel or this or all of them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Well, also shout out to Dave Gullick this week. He was talking about Anniversary. Eric, I don't know if you saw in our CinemAddicts Facebook group, he mentioned on Anniversary that he gave it 1 star. He gave Anniversary 1 star. And then Bruce Purkey, can you do something about Bruce Purkey over in the attic? He commented back and he said, I feel seen. Bruce Purkey, you gave Anniversary 3.5 stars. And Eric gave it 6.9 stars and I gave it 5 stars. How dare you side with Dave Gullick?
Did he give Anniversary a Bruce Purkey 3.5 stars, which means like it's definitely a recommend, or did he give it a Greg Serzavasi 3.5 stars, which means this is the worst Western I've seen in my life?
That is funny, Eric Holmes. No comment. Very, very good. I love that, Eric Holmes. But Dave Gullick, props to you for that mention on Anniversary. I'm glad that someone in our group over at CinemAddicts, our CinemAddicts Facebook group, saw Anniversary. Would love to hear what you guys think of Anniversary. Yep. Does this movie work for you guys? Hit us up over on our Facebooks or our socials, and would love to hear your thoughts on Anniversary as well.
I also think last time I was brought up Don't Look Up, I think it said Don't Look Up was Academy Award winning. I don't think it is.
Very, very good, Eric.
I think it meant Academy Award nominated, but still good.
This gift that keeps on giving. Several years back, Bruce Purkey and I ganged up on Eric Holmes. We were trying to tell him how much of a piece of you-know-what Don't Look Up was, and Eric was...
You guys are wrong, including David Goulet. I still love you, but you're allowed to be wrong. I don't take that from you.
I just wanted to mention Dave also because he also added that his local AMC theater is starting to play movies that we cover weekly on CinemAddicts. And I would love to hear more movie theaters across the U.S., in Canada as well. And props to Mitch Burns over at the Hollywood Persona there. Let us know about your local theater. Do they play these movies that we are reviewing on CinemAddicts? Please. I would love to hear about these indie-driven theaters because I think it's cool. I'm a sellout. I'm going to go see Predator Badlands this week, but the fact that theaters will carry Anniversary or however you feel about Longshadow, I'm just glad or Exit Protocol. I just want to patronize these type of movies, Eric. I don't know if you have a movie theater near Colorado Springs that is like that.
Speaking of patronizing, David Gulick, you can hear more at Dave Likes Movies on YouTube. Yes. So subscribe to his channel, and then you can hear more wrong takes from him.
Oh, David,
I'm just giving him crap, but I had to pimp his YouTube channel just because.
Yes,
he's not here to defend himself, so I'll at least do him a quick solid.
Dave is a esteemed movie reviewer on YouTube, yes, TikTok, and whatnot. And I apologize for you, Dave, for your oh my goodness, your misguided thoughts on Anniversary.
All right, we gotta stop picking on him.
Okay. Well, we love you, Dave.
Dave's a good guy.
And yeah, Dave is a great guy. And
probably right.
And probably right. Most importantly, folks, let us know what you think of Anniversary. Before we get out of here, we're gonna have a couple more movie picks and streaming recommendations and whatnot. I have no idea what Eric Holmes is going to say about the Beldham. I forced him to watch this movie. I had no idea, Eric, that you actually had a huge week this week as far as movies. I had no idea that you had Exit Protocol under your belt. So I was just...
Neither did I until the other day.
Well, anyways, there's this movie called The Beldham. Comes out in theaters November 7th via Quiver distribution. And here's a plot summary. A struggling new mom, her name's Harper, played by Katie Parker. She fights a generations-old presence that is lurking within her family home. That presence might be a bird, a crow, a blackbird, a raven. I don't know. Those blackbirds, I don't know. I can't tell between a raven or a crow, but there's a bunch of, let's just say there's a ton of crows around this family home, okay? Threatening her safety, her sanity, and the life of her infant child. Patricia Heaton plays Harper's mom, Sadie. And what's interesting is Sadie, the mom, she should be very nurturing for her daughter. She's coming back home to take care of Harper. And for some reason, the mother initially is friendly, but the mother becomes a little bit cold as the story progresses. And you're wondering, why is Sadie cold to her own daughter? Corbin Burnson from LA Law, and just an esteemed, great leading actor and character actor. He plays Sadie's companion, possibly new boyfriend, love interest. And both of them are renovating the house. And it says here on the plot summary that it's their family home. Actually, I was thinking maybe it's a new house, but it's interesting because you're going to find out if it's a new house or an old house pretty within the context of the story. But let's just say for the sake of the way the movie starts, they're renovating the house. They're making changes to the house. The mother is, and also the Corbin Burnson character is. Finally, there is a woman named Bet, played by Emma Fitzpatrick. She ends up being a helper in the house. She's helping Sadie and Sadie's companion, played by Corbin Burnson. She's helping with the renovation and the upkeep, and she ends up befriending Harper, who is the mother struggling with her baby in the house. That is the premise of the Beldham. It's written and directed by Angela Gullner. It's at 85 minutes. Eric Holmes, please do not mention what movie this reminds you of, because that will be a huge spoiler, but I would love to hear your review of the Beldham.
This is good. Go watch it. And to hear more, check out our Patreon, where me and Greg will do a full spoiler review on this.
Oh, great.
That's about all I can say about this movie.
Okay.
I will say
there's a good reason you're saying that. There's a good reason why you're saying that.
I will say that this movie seems to be sort of like maybe a metaphor for postpartum depression. It's got a little bit of that in there. It's got horrors. It's got supernatural elements to it, but I think unlike Longshadows, this one's pretty clear up front that the characters may not be seeing what they think they're seeing. So throughout most of the movie, you're like, I don't think the horror elements or the supernatural elements in this are probably not actually there and all in Harper's head.
Or they could be real. Let's just say that.
And if they wanted to be irresponsible about it, yeah, they could be real. But
you could see this movie in two ways, different ways.
Yeah,
you could see it in a couple ways.
But I think pretty early on, at least I tracked it as, oh, she's got some mental illness problems, probably due to postpartum depression, and they're showing that over that kind of that sort of thing overtaking her mental state.
I don't know what you're talking, Eric. I don't know what you're talking about, because I was watching this movie and there was a crow right on my lap while I was watching it. So it was very real to me. I saw a crow, and then there was knocking on the window. There's you have something coming out of your mouth. Oh no!
Oh, dog, just pulled a crow's feather out of my. No, but so all the supernatural stuff I think the movie kind of leans. Hey, only this character is seeing this. No one else seems to be. But then, what was it? Patricia Heaton, and I know her from somewhere, and I can't place where.
Everybody, I think she was in Everybody Loves Raymond. She was the main. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, she's great in this.
She's great. Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, oh, we're here for you. We're, you just, hey, is there something I can do? Nope. Just go, go with the baby, go lay down, go get some rest. And then as it goes on, and as Harper starts to see more and more stuff, that Frank and Sadie, the mom and dad, are like, oh no, oh no, we're gonna lock you in your room now. We're taking your baby away from you, and then
I don't know, Eric.
The stuff we can't talk about happens, and it works in this. It works great in this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, twist. Hey, Eric, I thought you would hate this movie. I thought you were gonna hate this movie. I'm so sorry. I thought you were going to dislike
I
it.
almost did because that's why I'm leaning towards the spoiler on the other end. I think it works better as all the supernatural stuff being a metaphor, because if the supernatural is, oh, it was all real the whole time, that flies in the face of what it's trying to say.
That's a good point.
Because,
And
oh, you're
again,
crazy. It's like, no, but sometimes the crazy people sometimes you should listen to them. And that just makes people that already think that stuff. Well, I could be right. I could be right. You don't know that I'm wrong. It's like, no, Bigfoot doesn't exist. You're wrong.
okay, that's a take.
I think
That's a take. I'm not going to say if I agree with it or not, because that will be our spoiler discussion.
Yeah.
But I will say
there's an irresponsible way to go about this movie, and they did not go that route.
I agree. They did not go that route, but some moviegoers can interpret it in a different way, respectfully speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, because Eric was mentioning this movie reminds him of another movie, which I agree with, but we can't mention that movie until we get to spoilers. Okay, yeah, we can't mention the movie that the movie that you mentioned that this movie reminds you of. We can't. Yeah, we're not going to mention that movie.
Is that a spoiler?
No, that is a spoiler because then
Because
the themes.
it's got the same thing. It's like someone might or might not see a thing.
I mean, if you want to mention it, it's your call. I think it's a little bit of
the Babadook.
Okay, so then that's the one that I think you don't think that's a spoiler.
No, it's almost the same thing. It's like a supernatural movie that may or may not be real. And and the Beldham kind of goes through similar theme, not directly similar, but it's got a similar kind of feel to it. I just think this one's better because I didn't like the Babadook at all. This one, I think all the stuff it's saying and that it's doing, I think is a lot more clear about its intentions and a lot more successful. Now, there's a part in the third act that some people might see and roll their eyes at. Fair enough, but it worked for me. And I think even if that one part throws you off, I think the rest of it is worthy and nails what it's going for.
Okay, let's mention this. It's written and directed by Angela Gulner. I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I'm assuming this movie didn't have a lot of budget, a lot of money. It doesn't look cheap. I like the way the shot compositions were. I liked what Angela and her DP, I don't know who the DP was, how they actually framed the movie. The movie looks good. It doesn't look cheap like I said, it doesn't look cheap at all. It's well thought out.
Cinematographer, Kasusha.
Okay. All right, Kashu. Okay. And it's a good looking movie.
Yes.
Number one.
Excellent looking movie. It kind of reminded me a lot of, what was that, Hatch? The lady that like slowly turned into a bird throughout another bird movie.
Right.
A woman that's like slowly turned into a bird throughout the movie.
And can we also mention the lead actress, Katie Parker?
Yes.
Fantastic. She throws herself into this role. All due respect, though, Eric mentioned Patricia Heaton. She's good in this. Emma Fitzpatrick as the helper is good in this. Corbin Burnson, who's usually a gregarious type of character, lead actor, he doesn't say much, and he's good in this as well with what he has to do. But in my opinion, this is Katie Parker's movie. It's a tour de force performance, in my opinion, from Katie Parker. And this movie surprised me, not just because of the really good performances, the good production design, and the way Angela Gulner, I'm excited to see what movies she has coming down the pike. But right now in the present, I really like what she did with this movie. And then to Eric's point, that third act, when things are explored and unraveled, I'll be honest, I did get emotional. Towards the end. It's a very resonant and emotional. And Eric's more into horror and thrillers, and he's more steeped in the horror genre than I am. But I will say this, I don't know many horror films that actually make me so emotionally connected towards the end. I don't know, Eric, if you see The Sixth Sense, the horror film, but this has the same kind. Okay, this movie
got dead people in it.
Right. This movie actually really is emotionally resonant, especially I think it will relate to people who love their family, who understand the trauma in their family. Eric, I don't know if you can elaborate. I told even our buddy Angela Clark, who does not like horror films, that if people watch the Beldham as a family film and can it's
Well,
more of a family drama than a horror film. There are horror elements, but I feel bad for people who will not see the Beldam because it's labeled as a horror film. Do you agree or disagree, Eric?
the thing is, like, we're watching Harper's kind of mental sovereignty just kind of leave her. And so the horror isn't the crow witch or whatever supernatural stuff they got going. The horror is when she's with the baby by herself. Are you gonna, or like when the crib catches fire? It's like, what the hell? Like, get this
Right.
baby away from. Like, we know that Harper loves her new baby. That's not in question. The question is, do you have the mental capacity to be able to be around them and not freak out and accidentally hurt it or kill it?
Or
Like
accidentally
that, like,
be,
so the horror, like supernatural
that's
stuff,
correct.
who gives two craps about that? I don't. I'm worried about her and her baby and what's
That's
going
a
to happen
great
with it.
point.
And
That's a
then to
great
watch
point.
and then to watch her parents be like, and she's like, I just want to see my baby. It's like, you can't. It's like, oh, I want to apologize to Beg because accidentally stabbed her and she was fine, but like, I want to apologize to her. It's like, you can't. And you see the pain in their eyes, like, we don't want to do this. We have to do this. Like the
Right.
only other, we either lock you in a room in a way where you can't hurt anyone else, or I mean, what's the other option? Kill you? We can't do that. So this
Right.
is the next best thing.
Eric is
And then
mentioning a
and
lot
then
of
to watch
stuff.
and then to watch Harper's sadness of like, I just want to see, I want to
Mhm.
see my baby, and my own parents are locking me in my room. And then there's even like a little bit of like infantilism going on because like she's like constantly wearing PJs or like wrapped up in like baby blankets and stuff like that. I feel like that means something, but I can't quite put my finger on
Well,
it. And there's something else that it could mean that we can't talk about here, but that's beside the fact.
Eric
Uh,
mentioned a lot of plot points in the movie, and the reason why, in context, I don't feel those are spoilers is because this movie goes on to an extra level, and these are all really interesting talking points within the Beldam, and it's a very layered horror thriller. I was
yeah.
so moved and surprised. I look, I feel like this should be a 4.5 star movie. Yeah, I mean, I was going in with a 4 star rating, but the fact that we had this really interesting conversation, and I'm gonna say this, Eric, if I see the Beldam one more time, I think I'll even like it more. So I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I was initially thinking this is gonna be a 3.5 star film, but this ended up being 4. I love this movie. So
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 4.5 too, only because I think that ending this is like a 4.5 with room to grow. This
mm,
could bump up to a 5 pretty easily. Then again, like, it could bump down to a 4, which is still good. But I'll keep it a 4.5 for now. It's just that ending, like, I would have liked to talk or at least hear an interview with the filmmaker and get their full thoughts on the ending, because there's a part of it that's just absolutely brilliant. And then there's another part of my brain that's like, maybe, I
I
don't
know where
know.
you're going. I know
Yeah,
where you're
and,
going.
and and we won't get into it, but that the half differential between 4.5 and 5 lies solely on that, and we can't talk about it here.
Yes, and it's a controversial ending.
Yeah,
I will just say that a
I will
talking
say
point.
they took a swing, and what no matter what side I land on it, they took a swing, and good for them on that.
And can I say the ending could have been more compromised? What I'm saying is
Yes.
Angela Gallner could have made it a certain way
Yep.
and have everyone in the audience clap, and she decided to go her
And
own way.
for anyone complaining about, you should stay through the credits. Credits are a black screen with white letters rolling through it, and no one cares. And no one cares because no one really puts any effort into the credits. Not the case here. You're gonna stick through all the credits, and it's yeah.
So sorry guys about that technical difficulty. We're back with the Beldam. Again, 4.5 stars for me, 4.5 stars with Eric. The Beldam comes out November 7th via Quiver distribution. We love this movie, written and directed by Angela Gallner. I'm so excited to see what she does post the Beldam. And I rarely say this. It sucks that neither me nor Eric got to interview Angela. That's how much
I,
we do so many. I wish we got to do the interview or something because
even still, I just want to watch the interview with her to go over the ending. Something we can't
mm,
talk about here, and that probably wouldn't be online now anyway because it hasn't come out yet. But I'd be very interested to hear her thoughts on the ending.
okay. So pretty much done for this episode of Cinematics until next week and Bruce Purkey, all that stuff. But before we get to the ending, there's a city that we have to cover. That is City of Industry. I don't know if Eric knew this, but City of Industry is a section of Los Angeles. City of Industry is directed by John Irvin. I believe it was released in 1998 and
97.
97. Thank you, Eric, for the correction.
It's mentioned as a 97 movie.
Thank you, Eric. Currently, as of this recording, City of Industry is streaming on Prime Video. The reason why both Eric and I did a rewatch in City of Industry. The reason why we decided to review it, do a mini review this week on CinemAddicts was last week we did Patreon. Eric mentioned the passing of this actor, Wade Dominguez, died really early. He starred in Dangerous Minds, a movie called Taxman, which Eric mentioned on Patreon. And then I mentioned to Eric that Wade has a really interesting presence in City of Industry, and he was great in Dangerous Minds. And I remember specifically when he passed away, it was very sad for me because I was so excited about what Wade would do in the future. But again, life cut short. And then Eric found out that Stephen Dorff's in it, Harvey Keitel's in it, and most importantly, who else is in it, Eric Holmes?
So, let's see. Let's bury the lead further. Lucy Liu's in it. Famke Janssen's in it. Timothy Hutton. So many people.
There's someone you also like.
Time. Oh yeah, Michael Jai White's in it. There's Odell Williams. Oh, he's so good in this. I love him in this. But
even Elliot Gould in an uncredited role is in this movie.
See, I didn't even know he was supposed to be in it. And then he pops up. I'm like, hey, it's that guy.
City of Industry, very simple plot. Harvey Keitel, I believe he's a convict, just released from prison, get to meet his brother. Meets his brother, played by Timothy Hutton. His brother has this jewel heist scam somewhere in Los Angeles that the brothers are going to pull out this jewelry heist. Also on their team is a person, the Wade Dominguez character, and also the Stephen Dorff character. Stephen Dorff is the wheelman of the crew. Skip, right? Very good. Stephen Dorff plays Skip, and it's a different Stephen Dorff because his hair's dyed and he's listening to all this alternative rock, hip hop,
like rap rock
stuff, and he's just new metal.
Turn it down. I gotta hype myself up.
Yeah, and he's just an annoying character. Okay, he's a very, very annoying character, and he's
annoying, but like intentionally so. Like,
yeah, intentionally annoying. So what happens, Eric? There is an inciting act. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. So the first maybe 20 minutes, it's them planning the jewelry heist and then them getting into the jewelry heist. Post jewelry heist, something happens. I'm going to ask Eric whether we should talk about that or not.
Yes,
we also have to mention Famke Janssen.
Are we talking about when they're driving away?
Okay, you can talk about that too. There's
when they're driving away and the cops are chasing them and like, oh crap, other cops are coming from the front and the cops coming from the front turn. The cops behind them go around and turn and like they're responding to something else and it's like.
It's a great sequence. You would think it'd be your average car chase sequence between the crooks and the cops, but it's not. It's like Eric said, they just drive. The Skip drives normally as a wheelman, and they're just driving, and all the cops pass them by, and they get off scot-free. We also have to mention Famke Janssen. She is the love interest or the wife of the Wade Dominguez character, and there is an inciting incident that happens post-heist. Eric, we can actually, if you want, you can actually mention that because it's actually in the plot summary. It's in the trailer. So do we mention that, Eric? Because it's in the plot summary.
That's what sets the whole thing off. So basically the whole movie is Harvey Keitel chasing Stephen Dorff down. But why is he chasing him down? You got to talk about that.
Of course, the reason why he chases Skip down, the Harvey Keitel character, he's chasing Skip, played by Stephen Dorff, is because Skip, post-jewelry heist, they're in the, I forgot, is it Timothy Hutton's trailer or something? Yeah, I'm thinking.
In the City of Industry somewhere.
Yeah, and they're divvying up the spoils of their heist. And what happens is Skip shoots Dominguez, shoots Hutton. They're immediately killed. And he tries to shoot Keitel. Keitel opens the bathroom door, and that by opening the bathroom door, Stephen Dorff, Skip, actually falls down for a second, giving the Keitel character time to escape that trailer and run into the darkness, or actually run into the light and evade Skip. And Skip is yelling, Roy. That's the name of the Harvey Keitel character. Roy.
Yeah, Roy.
Yeah, Roy. And so now Skip realizes that, unfortunately, he wasn't able to kill Roy. And the rest of the movie deals with Roy seeking vengeance on Skip, the person who murdered his brother, and the Wade Dominguez character. And also Famke Janssen plays a very pivotal role within the fabric of the storyline. Eric Holmes, your review of this gritty, possibly modern day noir from 98, City of Industry.
I mean, well, first of all, Famke Janssen, love her character in this.
So
Because normally her character is like really poorly written. And I don't know if it's her performance or the way she was written or maybe both, but like, she's like Wade Dominguez, early on, she's like, just do whatever you want. I don't care. And then you start seeing, it's like, man, she seems like this character that we, the bitchy character that we see a million times. But then you see what he's doing. Then you see what she's got to put up with. It's like, nah, I get it. She's right. She's right to be dismissive and piss off at him. But then after Steven Dorff kills him and Lee, and then she finds out about it, she's like, she's like all tore up about it. But in a way where it's like, I saw this coming a mile away, but
right.
it doesn't matter because I'm just like overtaken with emotion and sadness, partly because he's dead and partly because I saw it coming. I couldn't stop it. So like her character she's not throughout the full movie, but she's in quite a bit of it. And normally her character is really one-dimensional, two-dimensional at best. And her character is like really well written and well performed in this. So
I think it helps, I guess, from a structure sense that she has two kids and they have two kids together and she's worrying about the safety of her children.
But you know what I'm talking about? Usually her character in this is like just probably one of the most poorly written characters ever. But for some reason in this, they decided to put a little extra sauce on it, and then getting Famke Janssen to act the hell out of it didn't hurt it at all.
I'll tell you a Famke Janssen situation that I like, an acting moment, and this goes to spoilers, which I'll tell you after we're done recording. Towards the end, we see her get really emotional when she looks at something. I thought that was a very brilliant stroke. Very brilliant. So she gets a little bit teary-eyed and she looks at a certain object, and you think under lesser storytelling hands, it would have played out differently. So it's very, very cool that I really liked her character. Yeah, you're right. She was really well written. What about everyone else? Did you enjoy the movie? I said this was going to be this is a fun movie. It's a fun enough.
Oh yeah. This is easily a 5-star movie for me. I wish I would have watched it sooner. Michael Jai White could have used a lot more of him, but when he did show up, like he was like when Skip hires Odell and his buddies to like follow him and like have his back, and then the one guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go." What is he like gonna go put some Jay-Z in the jukebox or something? It's like, Michael Jai White puts basically like, hey, tap in, dude. We're on the clock here. And
exactly
kind of his gang leader sort of mentality. I love this character. Would have loved to see more of that. Lucy Liu, now she showed up for like 3 seconds, unless I missed something.
Come on, Eric. She was in it for at least a minute and 20 seconds, or
could have definitely used more Lucy Liu, but
of course she has a good.
I knew going in that she was in it, but then as the movie was going on, I forgot. So then when she popped up, it's like, oh, that looks like Lucy Liu. Oh, that is Lucy Liu. Okay,
she plays an exotic dancer who possibly was involved with Skip, and her character has an interesting discussion with Roy. And let's mention Harvey Keitel as Roy.
I mean, this was. It felt like
it felt like Harvey Keitel didn't even practice the role. It just felt like he's just playing Harvey Keitel.
It felt like a prequel to Reservoir Dogs in some.
Of course,
like City of Angel or City of Industry is what happened to Mr. White. Mr. White's real name is Roy Egan, and this is what he did before he got with the crew with the Reservoir Dogs.
That's very cool.
I mean, it's almost the exact same character, but I mean. This is just a cool movie. You were bang on about this. I love the hell out of this.
Right. Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. So 5 stars for Eric. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'm not.
4
I know
stars,
Eric is
Greg. Come on.
I know you're gonna be PO'd at me, but still 4 stars for me is an excellent rating.
You're gonna hype it up. You're gonna hype it up that much. Get me to love the movie that much just so you can 4-star it.
Okay, we're not gonna do spoilers on City of Industry, but Eric, without giving too much away, something I really think, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, Eric. Well, you probably do since you gave it 5 stars. We all know with these revenge movies that the bad person, here played by Steven Dorff as Skip, and the quote unquote good guy, who's also a criminal played by Roy, Roy and Skip, they're going to meet at the end of the movie. There's going to be a showdown. Eric, without giving too much away, how memorable is that showdown? The fact that it went the other way. Were you surprised at the confrontation between Roy and Skip? Because I saw it back in 98, and when that happened, I go, whoa, that just happened. Okay. All right. I like that creative choice. Did you like it, or did you want something more of a showdown type thing?
Probably maybe a showdown. I'm trying to think how it played out. So
right. Well,
can you walk me through this again?
Oh, at the end? Okay, well,
yeah.
Folks, we're gonna cut this part right now. Okay.
No, just kind of like in generalities without like any specifics.
Oh,
so I'm trying to think of what part you're talking about.
Oh, well, the fact that the showdown wasn't really it was just a memorable showdown. Let's just say that. And then, yeah, it was a memorable. Did you like the actual final moment where, so?
Well, when I think of the final moment, I'm thinking of the part with Famke Janssen.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
So
we'll talk about that after we record.
I'm not quite sure what part you're talking about.
Okay, so well, we'll talk about that later. City of Industry, 5 stars from Eric Holmes, 4 stars from me. Currently, as of this recording, streaming on Prime Video. Would love to hear. Dave Gullick, can you watch City of Industry? And please don't give it 1 star. Joseph
Dave
Bridges. Yeah, Dave likes the movie, and hopefully Dave likes. I know Dave didn't like Anniversary, but hopefully Dave likes.
Dave does not like Anniversary, but Dave does like movies.
Dave likes movies, and hopefully one of those movies is City of Industry. Dave Gullick, please, would love to. If you have not already reviewed it on your YouTube channel or your TikTok account or your IG, please watch City of Industry, currently streaming on Prime Video. Most importantly, CinemAddicts listeners, check out City of Industry as well. Tell us what you think of this movie, or if you've already seen it, let us know. That's it. It's a long episode. Very, very good. And that's it. Eric Holmes, you want to say anything else before we get to Bruce Purkey over at the Cinem-Attic? Because remember, Bruce Purkey also has reviews of what? What is Bruce? Yes, Sorry Baby, which is streaming on HBO Max, and Save the Green Planet. Eric Holmes, we're going to say goodbye with final thoughts from you, Eric Holmes.
Yeah, so it's going to be a while before they come out, but The Sleeping Beauty, Schrock the Giant Slayer, Cinderella, all part of Tales from the Woods, currently playing in various film festivals. Keep an eye out for them, and when they do release, we'll certainly bring it up. But if you get a chance to see that, most people won't be able to, but just know that those are excellent. They're coming out, and you know what? Only one bad movie this week. I'll take it. And
me being Greg Strzobowski, there's never a bad movie usually. So
3.5 is equivalent to most people's half stuff.
No comment. That is it for this episode of CinemAddicts, episode 319. I was supposed to release a week ago our Patreon spoiler for, what is it, that movie? Was it In Too Deep or not In Too Deep? What was that vampire movie? No, not the shark movie. The one we did last week. We can't really mention what it was, but I'm a little bit behind the spoilers, but Eric and I will do a spoiler of the Beldham that's going to be released this weekend for our Patreon listeners. So
the vampire movie.
No. Oh, I don't worry about that. We'll talk about that. I'm behind on my spoilers. Let's just say this, but we're going to do a spoiler of the Beldham. It'll be released for our Patreon listeners, Patreon patrons this weekend, and maybe several days later. We'll put it on.
Spoiler alert, Beldham has nothing to do with vampires, so I don't know what the hell it's about.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second, but before we're completely out of here, here's Bruce Purkey over at the Cinem-Attic.
Welcome to the Cinem-Attic, the attic of cinema, where I sit most of the week watching movies, and then I come down for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and talk to you guys about whatever I saw that week. Now, most weeks I do have a screener or 2 or 3 or 4. This week we had a few screeners, but there weren't that many interesting ones, so I don't actually have a screener for you, but I do have a couple interesting movies. There was one screener I was supposed to get called Nuremberg, and it did not pop up in our feed, so I'm sad. I was interested in that one. But what I did bring you are a couple of movies that are of current interest. So, first up, I'll tell you what I've got. I got 2 movies. I could go further, but what I've got Sorry Baby, a 2025 movie that just popped up on Max. and had a very limited run in the theaters, but had a lot of critical praise. I believe even in Cannes it might have got some note, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was Sundance. I can't remember. One of the big ones, it got a lot of notoriety from that. And then another movie, which is from 2003, and you're like, Bruce, 2003, why is that of current interest? Well, we'll get to it when I talk about it. But this movie is called Save the Green Planet, a South Korean movie. We'll get to that in a second. First up is Sorry Baby. Sorry Baby, directed by Eva Victor, written by Ava Victor, starring Ava Victor. You get a trend here. I was not familiar with her, but I guess she's done a lot of pretty current comedic work. I think a lot of it has been online or in smaller roles, but this is her breakout movie. Eva Victor plays Agnes, and this is a movie at first glance and in format that would seem like, oh, this is a very indie drama kind of movie. And in many ways it is, but to me, of the best sort. Because an indie drama movie can be well acted, well written, really emotionally affecting, but it can be really dry and really dour and really, I don't know, just not full of life. And when I describe the basis of this movie, it might seem like that. But the special sauce of this movie is just the style and the humor and the amazing like interactions that go on throughout this movie that really, really, I think, give it life above and beyond like kind of your well done indie dramas of the time. This is probably, I didn't look up the description as far as what it's categorized as, but I would probably say a dark indie comedy drama is probably the subgenre this would fall into. Basic concept is Agnes, like I said, once again played by Eva Victor. She is living in a small house, New England. She is postgraduate. In fact, she is now just getting her professorship. And when the movie starts, her longtime friend, Lydia, played by Naomi Ackie, is coming to visit her after, I don't know, it's been like 4 or 5 years since they graduated. And they both have found their lives. And Agnes's friend is doing well, but really happy to see her. And they're having this reconnection. And you get the sense very early, they really have a great chemistry together. You can tell they just love each other. They're catching up, all this kind of stuff. But you get the idea that Agnes is a bit isolated. Agnes is a bit maybe depressed. There's a lot of talk about, like, Agnes will keep saying things like, I'm not going to do anything to myself. Everything's fine, like indicating that might have been on the table at some point. And you get the idea that something bad happened and you're not sure what. You're not sure if there was a death in the family or a former love of hers left her or died. You just know that there's some kind of pain in Agnes's life that is weighing on her in some way, and you're not quite getting the full picture. And that's your beginning chapter of this. Also in this beginning chapter, you have a meeting with a bunch of their old college friends. They all get together, and there's very interesting interactions between all of them at kind of this casual dinner where you get the feeling that there has been some kind of acrimony and maybe even competition or something between her and this one other woman, one of her peers named Natasha, played by Kelly McCormick. You may not know Kelly McCormick. Kelly McCormick, Eric and Greg should remember from a really cool, weird little indie movie called Sugar Daddy. And she was the star of that one. And I believe the writer of that one too. So it's interesting to have such an unique voice playing a relatively minor character here, but having a real impact on Agnes's life as the story goes on. So you're kind of getting settled into what I just described, and you're like, okay, this movie's going to be following Agnes and getting to discover, kind of what is currently weighing on her, all of that kind of stuff. And to some degrees, it does do that, but what it does is it does some time jumping, so it ends up being in chapters. And I should have written down the chapters because they're odd little phrases like the year that something bad happened, or the day that I was happy, or things like that. So after about 20 minutes or so that I described, all that kind of stuff, You jump back in time. She is now just about to finish college. She is roommates with Lydia, the person we already met. And you're like, uh-oh, we're going to see what happened. And we do. And I'm not going to describe how we see it, but we see it in a very subtle way. We see it coming, but the way it's presented to us is very, very subtle. But then we really get to watch the aftermath of a trauma that happens to Agnes. Once again, you're saying, like, Bruce, I thought you said this was a vibrant, not just a dour indie drama kind of movie. And it's true, it's not. Because once the trauma happens, and we know what the trauma is very clearly, it faces it very clearly, you would expect a movie to be, like I said, very serious and dour based on what the trauma is, and very emotional. And though it hits some of those notes, what is, to me, really interesting is that the rest of the movie kind of is showing how does Agnes claw her way back to a version of normal life, and how she does it with this kind of really sardonic and interesting sense of humor, and really slowly finding her way to really re-engage with life. And we do jump around in time several times, several chapters. And throughout this movie, they're not even vignettes, but they're individual scenes or moments. Actually, I'd say scenes where the writing and the interactions are just so sharp and so engaging. I'm not even going to say what they are because I don't want to give stuff away. I think the experiencing is great. But there's there's a scene with Agnes and Lydia when Agnes goes and visits a doctor, and that scene is amazingly played out. There's a scene where Agnes has to get selected for jury duty. Once again, amazingly acted, amazingly written, and just the way it progresses is never exactly what you're expecting. There are interactions, like I said before, with the Kelly McCormick character, Natasha, once again, goes ways you don't exactly expect, and it's really, really amazing and engaging. And then one other thing is, there's a moment in this movie, there's a scene in the poster you see with her holding a cat up, and it might even look like, oh, this is a movie about a woman and a cat. Well, it's really not, but there's a whole reason she gets a cat. That scene does happen in the movie, and the ongoing sequence with her and that cat, and the cat ends up being in her life, but there's the opening sequence where she first gets the cat, and an ongoing sequence with her, including a scene where she has to talk with a convenience store clerk while she's hiding the cat in her coat. Once again, amazing, humorous, heartfelt. It's the kind of thing that the person that is Ava Victor, I think is the only person who could pull it off, because there's just a level of balance between the humor, the quirkiness without being like cloying. It's always grounded. It's always like it's tinged in a little bit of sadness, and just she's on the edge of being unhinged at all times, but at the same time you're always rooting for her. And there's one other scene, and once again, all these scenes aren't telling you a thing about the movie. You're just like, okay, there's a scene with a whatever, there's a scene with a cat. But I think the sign of a great movie for me is when you think back on it, you could think back on 3 or 4 or 5 scenes, and every time you think about it, I want to see that scene again. And whether it's an action movie or a horror movie or a comedy or whatever it is, if you have a movie where you think back on 3 or 4 scenes that you really want to see again, that's a great sign for a movie. The other scene I wanted to mention was you have a kind of almost a cameo, but it's an extended cameo. It's like probably about a 10-minute scene with John Carroll Lynch. And if you know John Carroll Lynch, he was the husband of Marge in Fargo. Long-time character actor. You've seen him many, many times. And I feel like he was cast in this movie probably based on Fargo, because he brings that sort of energy, which is absolutely human empathy machine that he was in Fargo, where he was what you see is what you get. A real caring person that cared about the person they were with. And in this case, he is an absolute stranger to Eva's character. That would be Agnes. He's an absolute stranger to Agnes. They meet based on just pure chance in a really offhand way. And they end up having an extended interaction that is just wonderful. And then there's a final scene, which once again, I won't get into what that is exactly, But once again, it's perfect pitch, note perfect. It's very subtle. It's very quiet, but it's exactly what you need at the end of the movie. And it's exactly what Agnes needs at the end of the movie. Wonderful movie. I cannot praise this movie high enough. If it looks like, I think the problem is it's hard to sell. It's hard to describe as what is this movie about. And it's hard to, from the poster, get a feel of what the movie is about. I think that the only caveat I would have is that there are certain kind of traumas, and I don't want to describe what the traumas are because that would give away a moment in the movie that you kind of need to have. But if you are triggered by certain sort of traumas that can happen to people, you may not want to see this movie. It isn't violent. It isn't explicit in any way, but it's emotionally explicit. You know what I mean? Like emotionally, you will feel it. And that's a sign of a movie that's doing its job. I think it's a fantastic movie. This is a 5-star movie for me. It'll definitely be in the running of one of my favorite movies of the year. We'll see when all's said and done and I go back through my 30 or so movies that I've got tagged as my favorites of the year, whether this will drop into the top 10, but it could very easily do so. Once again, sorry, baby. If you have HBO Max, super accessible right now. I would say if you're in for something that's not too, like I said, once again, not too heavy and like it doesn't weigh on you, but it has serious, heavy issues dealt with in a very unusually, sardonically comedic way with a really, really singular voice that I'm looking very forward to seeing other things from, then Sorry Baby may be for you. Check it out. 5 stars for me. Okay, the other movie I have this week, once again, this is a value-added week from the Cinem-Attic. Very few movies, but a few that you may really want to check out. The second movie is Save the Green Planet from 2003, directed by Jang Joon-hwan. Now, the question is, why is this 2003 movie from South Korea a real currently interesting movie for people? Well, once again, if you've been listening to any of the reviews of Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos, then you probably have heard like, oh, well, that's a remake of a South Korean movie. And once again, thinking of Yorgos as doing a remake is very odd. And I have a very hard time getting to the movies in the theaters these days. A lot of times I have to wait for them to stream. It's just hard for me to get out and get the time away to do that. So I really want to see Begonia, but I thought to myself, well, if it's a remake of a South Korean movie, and one that I have heard of, why shouldn't I watch that? Like, I know there's two kind of trains of thought. One is, well, I want to see Yorgos's, totally full, free in the clear, not influenced at all, and then go back and check the original out. But you could look at it the opposite way. Hey, it would be really interesting to see the original and have that be the first impression, because that was the first impression on the world. And then just see how Yorgos's, changes or doesn't change things. Like, I know style-wise it probably is going to be very different because Yorgos has such a singular kind of approach to anything he does. So I went with the latter. I decided I'm going to see the original movie, and when I get a chance to see Yorgos's in a month or so, when it goes streaming, I will do that. So, Save the Green Planet, once again, 2003. Got to remember, this is like the same year as movies like Old Boy, I believe, came out the same year. There's a whole bunch of South Korean movies rising up in this time period. You've got also things like Memories of Murder is not too far from there. So a lot of the biggies are hitting. And I remember having this movie I had heard of it, and I'd had buzz at the time for people who were really into the weirdo movies of the time, which I was one of those. And I think I had it on my Netflix queue for a long time, and it just never got to the top, and then it faded out of my memory as other things came and pushed it out. So I never ended up watching Save the Green Planet, but it always lingered there. The name always lingered there. And I remembered it started popping up again recently. I feel like Ari Aster had a connection to it at some point, a remake or a reboot of it. Maybe not as a director, but I feel like he had something to do with it. And then, of course, Yorgos made Begonia. And at first I didn't know that was what Begonia was. And then when they mentioned it, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, I got it. I got to check that out. So, Save the Green Planet. Once again, This is going to probably work for people who have seen Begonia as a way to be like immediately start comparing it, because they're going to just hear my uncompared version of Say the Green Planet, because I don't know what Yorgos does. So basically it starts out with this rich, kind of a CEO type, a real a-hole CEO, because you see immediately he has his interaction with like a driver, and it's not like his personal driver, it's just like someone he hired, and immediately he's going to pay the driver, and he quibbles with the driver over the payment and why he should not be paying the driver as much as the driver is owed. And the driver is trying to stand up for himself and say, well, I did the job, you should pay me. And the rich a-hole CEO is like, nah, you don't deserve it because whatever. Kind of that real pettiness that you get from people who are rich, who feel like the people below them don't deserve even half the money of the pittance that they're already getting, whereas the rich person, of course, just gets to roll in it and use it whatever way they want. And there's also indications that this rich CEO guy has been involved and embroiled in some scandals. Once again, it's not outlined as much as just giving you a basic idea of his character right before he is kidnapped, abducted by two people. And the two people is a young man and a young woman. I write their name. There's so many names, Korean names, so it's going to be hard for me. I'm going to probably just say young man, young woman, and stuff like that, and CEO. But either way, Suni is the young woman. She played by Hwang Young-min. And then Lee Byung-gu is the man, played by Shin-ha Kyun. Once again, I'll probably after that not say it anymore. So anyway, the kidnapper, he ends up being your main character. But what you see is, first of all, they kidnap this guy. They take him back to this remote house out in kind of the mountains outside of the city. It has a real like elaborate kind of basement, almost like a bunker compound or something, full of mannequins. At first you're like, why is this place full of mannequins? They get the CEO, they have him, strapped and shackled to this chair. And both the man and the woman are wearing these kind of look like homemade kind of contraption sort of helmets. And they're almost like fancy versions of the tinfoil hat, the proverbial tinfoil hat you get with conspiracy theorist types. That's almost, code, shorthand for conspiracy theory, a wackadoodle. And essentially you find out that is what we're in. Well, that's the territory we're in. The young woman, Suni, she is very passive, almost childlike. If there's any real drawback as far as characterization in this movie, it's probably her character is being overly simplified. And I wouldn't say misogynistic. It's not that hardcore, but it's definitely, she's belittled as being like just almost a cipher, just an idol in a way of the dude, the Yong-gu character. And anyway, the kidnapper man, he immediately starts revealing that, he knows the CEO is an alien. He's been doing a lot of research and he knows it's for sure. They've got like 7 days until a lunar eclipse is coming, and they need to, before the lunar eclipse, they need to basically, unveil and reveal that he is truly an alien and get his plans, because they know that when the lunar eclipse gets there, the aliens will arrive and it's going to be very dangerous for Earth. And that's about as much as you can decode, because it's very convoluted. Like any kind of conspiracy theory, it doesn't quite make sense. It's hard to figure out because it doesn't make sense. And in most movies like this, I was thinking like, well, this is going to be this kind of goofy, dark comedy about conspiracy theories and, class and, people trying to, gain control over their lives. And to some degree, it is that kind of a movie. But like most South Korean movies, especially from that era, and you're probably seeing where this is going if you watched a few, this movie genre bends more than even most South Korean movies. It bounces all over the place in tone, in genre, in subgenre, in style. You think it's going to be this goofy, dark comedy, but then it for a big chunk of it, it is almost, I don't know, horror movie Saw level torture kind of stuff. There's some really hardcore torture going on to basically reveal, like get this guy to reveal that he is, quote, an alien. And I didn't expect it to go that hard into the violence. So warning, if you're not into that and you can't handle that, it's definitely not the movie for you. There's a whole element of this movie that involves kind of investigation by some police officers. But what I really appreciate about this movie is that you start out with unlikable characters, right? You've got this, terrible CEO who is terrible to people around him. So even though he's got kidnapped and is being, tortured as a quote alien, you don't really feel too bad for him. But as the movie goes on, it gives you reasons to sympathize for him, or at least hope that he doesn't endure quite all the terribleness that ends up befalling him. And of course, there's the elements where, like, will he escape? Will he get out of this? Will he get saved? That kind of thing. And on the other side, you've got this, like I said, wackadoo conspiracy theorist guy who's doing terrible things to another person and also a pretty unlikable person. But then the movie decides to definitely give you moments, not all flashbacks, but to give you insights into what torment or what happened to this person to break them in this way, to push them into the where they're currently at. So you end up at least sympathizing, if not empathizing, with his plight. And that is at the core of the movie. But then on top of that, you have really weird and odd, interesting interactions and moments. You think, oh, it's going to veer into this whole like police procedural where they may or may not eventually uncover and get to the secret hideout and reveal it. And there's even this kind of rogue cop who's outside of the regular cops. I don't understand exactly what his status is, but he's definitely not like in the main cop group, but he is like a detective of sorts. Maybe he's like a former detective that has just does it on the side, like a private detective. It was hard to figure out exactly where he was, but he was definitely discredited. And there's a whole sequence where essentially he finds, and I'm not giving really a spoiler away because it doesn't really matter on the long-term part of the movie, but he finds the kidnapper guy's home. He may or may not find the kidnappee, but he finds the kidnapper's home. And there's a long extended like interaction between him and the kidnapper that is really cool and really interesting and not expected in this movie. And that kind of applies to the whole movie. It keeps doing unexpected things. It keeps having unexpected context and interactions and changes in these characters. Like I said, even the subgenres change sometimes. It'll go back to being goofy and then go back to being really violent, go to being thrilling, being like is it an escape sort of a thing? There's some very strong misery vibes a lot of times with this. And I guess that was intentional. From what I heard and read, the writer-director had seen Misery, and one of his reactions to the original, or the movie version of Misery at least, was that he really wanted to know what got Kathy Bates to the point she got to, like as a human being. So that's the reason that the emphasis here ends up being a lot on the abductor and like what got them to, not forgiving the actions they're doing, but understanding the actions that got them to where they are. That's what I mean. This movie really likes to push your sympathies around, which is interesting in itself and makes it a much more engaging movie than it could be if it was just a straight ahead, a captive slasher-y kind of movie, which it has elements of. But if it had just stayed there, it would have been much less interesting than what it ends up being. It was fun to see. The only thing I know about Begonia, I know in the posters, you see it's like honey and blood or like imagery dripping down on the face of the shaved woman's head. Not Sharon Stone, but Emma Stone. And I can understand now, I think, what that imagery means in the context of the original movie, because there is a beak. The captor, the kidnapper, he basically has like a whole bunch of beehives outside of his house, and they do play a small role in this movie, not a very big one. So I'm wondering it must play a bigger role in the remake because the beekeeping bee aspect is pretty minor in this version. Overall, it's a really entertaining and odd movie. Does it go a little bit all over the place too much? Maybe, but it did always keep me interested. And I'm really interested in the ending of Begonia. And once again, of course, I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending of Save the Green Planet goes someplace that you could see coming, but you don't necessarily believe the filmmakers will go there. But in this movie, they do. And I love the boldness of that, especially for, I think this might have been the first feature film for this director. So the fact that they went so all in on the ending of a movie like that is pretty great to see from a first-time or young filmmaker. I'd be interested to see if Yorgos goes there as well. Once again, I can both see how Yorgos might have made a movie about this because it's such an odd movie and he could just put his stamp onto it. But on the other side, I can't see how he'd do this movie because this movie is very loud and brash and wild and very energetic, and it's just in your face in every way. It's not quiet. It's not subtle odd. It's not quiet odd. It's loud, screaming, exploding odd. And that doesn't seem to be quite Yorgos's vibe. So I'm wondering if Yorgos just puts his vibe on it and makes it a different movie with the same skeleton. That's my guess. Once again, those of you who have seen either one or both of them could probably give me feedback. I think Joseph Bridges has probably seen this movie, Save the Green Planet. It seems like he would have seen it by now. I know a few of you out there probably will also be searching it out. I would go 4.5 stars. Realistically, I could see people going lower on it because it is incohesive. I just go higher because the audacity of it. I had a great time watching it. Is it like an all-time favorite? I'd have to see it again. I feel like this is a movie I could see again because there's so many weird, interesting details that are just flowing across my brain as I'm watching it that I couldn't catch it because I was so stuck in the plot and where the heck it was going. And I feel like this is one of those movies, when you rewatch it, since you know where it's going, you can focus a little more on the details and the elements that kind of got you there, and probably makes it even better. So I'm giving it a little credit in that sense. That and just the audaciousness of it probably raise it above maybe a 4-star, which I would probably come in at on this movie. Realistically, if you want to know where I would be, but I'm going to say 4.5 because of the audaciousness of it. Once again, pretty interesting, cool movie. I had to search a little bit to find it. It's not the easiest movie to find, but you can. And I think Chad Wilfong out there, we were talking a little bit off online about this. I think he or somebody had said they thought there was going to be a 4K version of this coming out, and that would be cool to see. But the transfer I saw was pretty good. It wasn't like really grainy or bad at all. So once again, Save the Green Planet for me, 4.5 stars. Definitely an interesting watch on its own, and probably even more interesting watch if you've got Begonia under your belt, or vice versa. Watch it and then watch Begonia, which is what I'm going to do. And once again, the movie of the week, above and beyond, is Sorry Baby. I cannot praise that movie enough. I love that movie. Love, love, love Sorry Baby. Next week, we've got some interesting movies coming up. I did not write them all down, but I know there's at least 3 or 4 cool screeners coming our way. And this is the time of year where we start to get a few of the kind of award season movies maybe coming our way. A lot of them they won't give out screeners for. And I also get, once again, I have no influence over any of these people, but it has always seemed crazy to me that they'll give you out screeners for these kind of independent, smaller, interesting movies that aren't going to get a ton of buzz. Then it makes sense. Give out screeners because you want people to talk about your movie. But the minute it gets to the award season, I think it might have an award chance, they get super stingy with their screeners. And I don't get that. Like, this is the season where you want to have people talking about your movie because you think this movie actually has chances to get awards, Golden Globes or Oscars or whatever. Why would you then hold back? I get the idea these big budget movies don't want to give out their screeners because they want to keep it secret, or they maybe don't have confidence over it and it costs them a lot of money, and they don't want little Bruce over here in the corner talking about their movie. But any of these indie movies that are pretty low budget and they're going to make it or break it off of word of mouth, like, why are they not giving out screeners for these movies at this time of year? It makes no sense to me. Once again, we end up getting a lot of them, but we end up getting a lot of them in January, which makes January for us an unusually great month a lot of times. Whereas for most people, if you're just going to the theaters, you're just getting like whatever. Anyway, all of that's beside the point. A couple good movies for you guys to check out this week. Hope that gave you some great ideas. We will talk to you soon.